Yeah, Manuel. So we are live. Thank you for joining me this morning. I will give you the floor. You're the guest today. So why don't you introduce yourself to my audience and give a little background on your career and then about the startup you've recently founded.
Yeah, thanks, Connor. Good morning, and thanks for having me. My name is Manuel Solis, and I based out of here in the northern part of Idaho, and have just had an amazing journey in my career, and it stems from starting off as a in sales in software, and then it was very interesting to see the career progression throughout the years, and then interesting, midway into my career, I was given the opportunity to kind of join partnerships, and it was interesting to kind of dive into that in itself: business development, partnerships, alliances, um, and really just enjoyed the dynamic of being able to talk to other entities that wanted to immerse themselves in whatever product that you were obviously offering in the market. And then transitioned into essentially some bigger roles later on in my career, and managing not only partners but teams across the world, which was also an amazing experience. And so here we are, speeded up today, right? SportsHero was founded not long ago, in the beginning of this year, and it has been an amazing ride. Just kind of being a part of what that takes to start a company, and get all the right people that are just good at their craft around you, because it's a team of many, not a team of one. And it's been an amazing experience, just going from a concept, which really started, I would say 4 years ago, before COVID started, and then we were incubating the framework and the whole offering before COVID broke. And unfortunately the world saw COVID, and we put that project on hold. So that was an interesting kind of shock moment for everybody at the moment. What I mean by everybody was just three of us sitting at a cafe every Saturday morning and sitting down and thinking about what are we going to do. So we put that project on hold, and again speed it up, and here we are, in 2023, wrapping up 2023. Shockingly enough, have established an amazing, framework company and a team to develop a strategy and a product that I think will be consumed by our youth very soon. So, SportsHero is going to be awesome going into 2024.
Very cool. Yeah, we can get into that in a second, but I just want to back up a bit because I'm checking out your LinkedIn, and you kind of talked about it a bit, how you have a pretty long career in what appears to be corporate America, over 20 years. Why did you all of a sudden during COVID and more recently with actually launching Sports Hero decide to pivot to entrepreneurship now when you've had so much success working for other companies and in corporate America?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. I believe in it's all about timing, right? And I will say that, based on my the opportunities I've been given at so many different companies, I probably wouldn't have the mindset and or even the knowledge that I have, from not working from those companies, right? So it's like all of that experience in having uh, having been a part of some really great companies has kind of equipped me for a lot of the necessary things that I believe are paramount to either starting a company, or just having the experience, whether it's leadership or whether it's getting into the weeds, rolling up your sleeves, and being a part of a bigger vision and strategy. So all of those things that were really kind of, big, big experiences in my career has led up to it. And so, um, I will say that, Sports Hero really stems from a personal heart pull string for me. I wanted to become a professional baseball player as a kid, and
Okay.
it was interesting to kind of rise the ranks as a little boy. And unfortunately, life happens. My mom, being a single mom, was not able to continue the financial support that was needed to kind of go up into those ranks. And as we all know, it's as the higher you go in sports, the more expensive it becomes, or the cost starts to increase, right? So, but that's it is what it is, and so here we are. I'll never forget the moment when I walked into a supermarket, and as I'm walking into the market, these kids come and say to me, "Would you like to donate to our sports to our baseball club?" And I thought to myself, "Wait a minute." Yeah, sure. What are we talking about? Like, what kind of donation are we thinking? And they're like, well, whatever you can offer. And I said, so where is this money going? He said, well, the money's going to go towards us getting, gear and bats and gloves. And I'm like, wow, yeah, sure. So I gave them, I forget how much, $20, $30, whatever it was. And they gave me this coupon book, and I still have this coupon book to this day. And it was more like a memento for me. It was like, whoa, this is something that I think we can do better. And I even told those kids, I go, I don't want you to be out here in the rain, even though they were in the overhang, not getting soaked, but there's just got to be a better way to get these kids to play, to get out there and play sports without having to, subject themselves to the elements and receiving, getting money. And so that's kind of the genesis of how SportsHero really started. Not only the experience of knowing what it feels like, because I did the car washes, I sold cookies. I mean, you name it. I did all those things that are necessary to get the stuff you need for the team that you were on, and that's kind of where it all started. So again, kind of backing up, I think a lot of the experiences working for a lot of the great companies that I've worked for has allowed me to mentally prepare myself for this journey that we're on, which, I've said it many times before on articles I've written. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not going to promise you nothing other than, the test of your true passion. So.
Yeah, and maybe because I'm looking at a lot of your titles, director of channels and partnerships, director of channels and alliances. Is it something about that position within a company that allowed you to say, okay, I kind of strategically understand how I'm helping build this company, and then I feel like I could apply what I learned or what skills I've obtained to my own company? Was that kind of a pivot point as opposed to just being a sales rep that's
Yeah.
just selling a product?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of commonalities between being a salesperson and even in the world of partnerships. And I always like to look at it, and I've even shared this with people that I've mentored. You're kind of, whether you're a sales rep or whether you're a partner alliance person, you're like the mini CEO of the company. You're going out there and you're talking about a product. But I like to say and lean on, every day of my life, people like to do business with people they like, right? And so when you're genuine and you approach, a customer from a lead or a cold call, you're being genuine about providing a solution that solves a problem for them. Um, depending again on your approach, they're willing to listen, right? And so I think from there, you go from the sales rep mentality. They say you're the CEO of your territory, right? You're going to be the one that's going to make your number. You are in control of the amount of money you make, which is all accurate, again, depending on the company you work for. And then that goes right into very complementary to the partner world, which is it's you're not just selling a point product anymore. What you're selling at that point is the bigger vision and strategy over the company that is essentially trying to sell your own product. So you're kind of, yet again, a mini CEO or an executive going to another entity and saying, here's why you need to sell our products, or one product or portfolio of products. And this is the amount of revenue that you're going to be able to generate. And so it becomes a little bit more, you get more down into the details of the numbers, right? Rather than just a solo number of selfishly your own sales rep territory number, and your own wallet. you now start talking about not only your own wallet, but you start talking about your partner's wallets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what they can make. So, it's also yet again an experience that I think has helped me understand another side of the business that I think is extremely important to understand, because it's not just about you, it's about others, right? And so that has helped me understand a little bit more about some of the things that are going to be necessary to kind of start a company, be in the weeds, understand it, share the vision and strategy. So
Yeah. Did it help you understand how to quickly scale or grow something? Because when I'm thinking about partnerships, right, you basically say it's a win-win. And I think about other very well-known companies, right? Uber, Airbnb. I mean, they provide the platform. And then
yeah.
in theory, it should be a win in Airbnb's case for the guest and the host. The guest gets a place to stay. The host makes revenue by offering their property. Airbnb's the middleman. Is that what you're trying to do with SportsHero? Is be the platform between athletes and whoever it is, parents, supporters that want to fund youth sports programs?
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, and without opening up all of the amazing things that will come you know, down the line, yeah, essentially, it's really that conduit that I think it gives the athletes a platform that will provide for them the necessary funding that they need to go play sports. I think what's interesting is that there are a lot of crowdfunding platforms that exist today. We all know of them. There are other donation or fundraising platforms out there that exist today. And I think one of the interesting things is a lot of these platforms have capped themselves in their core offering, right? They're only doing one thing. And so I think when you look at the world of sports, you look at depending on where you are in that journey, the idea is to allow a platform that is easy to use. Of course, that's kind of like basic 101, but most importantly, allows everybody to have accountability amongst each other. Meaning, you're asking, little Timmy's going to be asking, grandma or promoting himself about what he wants to do, right? What person wouldn't want to talk about themselves, about what they want to do, whether it's a vision, a dream, or even a goal that they want to go achieve. And out of the kindness and of our own hearts or people's hearts and even humanity, if somebody wants to share that with me, and if I have the opportunity to sponsor that or fund that, however that might be, whether it's $5 or $20 or even giving the opportunity to buy that individual the bat, right, or that glove, it contributes to whatever it is that person's wanting to do. And at the same time, even if it's a monetary component, meaning it's actual the dollars that are given to the athlete, it's the accountability that I think is so important, because so often you're giving money to somebody, and whether it's a donation or whatever, or you're raising funds, whatever, and you feel good about it. Everything's good, but there's no follow through with where did that money go? Like
Mm-hmm.
how did it affect you, or whatever the fundraising element was, right? Like what's the follow through? What there is none. You don't know. And so there's a challenge, because there's no transparency with what the funds are being used for. And so we're kind of changing that game in regards to how athletes are receiving the funding to be sponsored to go out there and play sports. And then the sponsor, whoever is providing the funding, understands exactly where that money is going and how it was spent throughout the journey of whatever journey that athlete's on. So it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, that's a good point. And do you see that allowing people to be more confident in sponsoring, or even sponsoring more if they know where the money's going? Is that kind of the theory
Yeah.
behind it?
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, there's two sides to that, right? So no athlete wants to be a charity case, right? And so an athlete wants to I was one of them. I wanted to not only play the sport that I love to play, but I wanted the big mansion, and I wanted the Ferrari, and, I wanted the jet, the plane, and all the lifestyle that goes into that. I'm not saying that I'm promoting that lifestyle, because I don't even live that lifestyle to this day, but, going and thinking big, right, is what these athletes want to be. And they don't want to be a charity case. I mean, at the same time, who to know that, or to even promote that you're being sponsored, just sounds cool, right? I mean, you go down the list of any professional sport, whether it's car racing or whether it's, whatever it might be, some entity, Gatorade, Nike, they're always sponsoring amazing athletes out there, right? They're just sponsoring. And so, that idea around getting kids used to being sponsored, and yeah, it might be at a family and friend level, but still, just changing the word from donation to sponsor is in itself a big change, right? Because you develop confidence in the athlete to be receiving the funding. It's no longer a, hey, poor me, help me. It's more of a, hey, I'm going to go do this, and I want you to see this, be a part of this journey. And sponsoring is huge, right? And so that's one side of the coin. The other side is, for those friends and family, and very soon entities. I mean, that we're going to be bringing on, that have the opportunity to sponsor athletes that are the unknown athletes at the moment. It's just, yet again, that transparency is huge, and I think it's a game changer.
Can you maybe speak to that a little more, like bringing on entities? It just made me think of the recent change with NCAA, where college athletes can, excuse me, now be sponsored or paid. I mean, do you foresee that extending down into youth sports, or? And I'm
Yeah.
also thinking about, right, like the NBA recently, like they do in Europe with soccer.
Yeah.
The company sponsorships on jerseys. I mean, are you thinking about things
Yep.
like that, or is it truly,
Yeah.
hey, family member, just help me fund my basketball camp for the summer?
Yeah, it's obviously going to start with the family and friends, right? Camps, clubs, league dues, and the gear in itself. You need gear, and so that in itself is another avenue that we can talk about later. But yeah, I do foresee, the Dick's Sporting Goods of the world, the Nike, in the trenches for the athletes out there that are up and comers. I mean, I do think that there's a massive amount of athletes that are just amazing at what they do, but they don't have a platform. They don't have anything other than maybe a TikTok video and a YouTube channel. But even then, there's no connection there, right? There's no way of, other than promoting yourself and saying, hey, this is how awesome I am. But that's where the buck stops. I mean, I think the opportunity for some of these companies to really lift up these athletes, in parts of the world that you would have never thought that they'd be coming from, right? Because fortunately, on the SportsHero side, we do have, we've got a couple guys that have played, at least one of them, professional football, and so his vision, or at least his journey from, uh, a kid to, going through college to becoming a professional NFL player, has really helped us understand what does that journey really look like. Because, like I said earlier, I didn't get a chance to become pro in any way, shape, or form, so I don't know. But to have that understanding of what it's like, but then bringing the element of these companies out there, I think it does two things. It makes the company look like they care about our youth, and then the youth are the youth that we're going to be, essentially promoting within the platform, have an opportunity to talk about how their journey is being sponsored by not only just friends and family, but by Red Bull, by, Monster Energy, or whoever it is, right? Nike. So yeah, it's absolutely something that will soon launch.
Can you speak to why someone would need sponsorship for youth sports to begin with? And I just think back to when I was a kid, and if you
Yep.
want to play rec soccer, I don't even know how much it is this day, but maybe costs have gone
Yep.
way up, and maybe it's the fact, if you want to be competitive, you have to travel and have all this gear. But I'm just bringing up alternative, or at least what I remember. Okay, you can play rec soccer, you get shin guards, cleats. It's $100 to play. It's at a local community center every weekend. So I guess I'm just bringing up the point of sports may not necessitate sponsorship. So why is that so imperative?
Yeah. I think a couple things. There's a there's a there's a monetary component that for some is challenging to overcome. Um, $100 to you and I might not be much, but $100 to a lot of kids out there in the world. And I say world as in it's not just a US based launch and it's going to be, a global thing. $100 is a big deal. And it's a big thing to come across sometimes for some kids. And those are the kids that I ultimately, can see, being a part of the platform, because we all know that there are thousands of Michael Jordans, who, by the way, is my ultimate sports idol. If I get a chance to shake his hand, I don't know. I might. I don't know what I'd do. I might be a little boy and just jump around. But there's a lot of athletes, out there that are the Kobe Bryants, the Mark McGuires. Go down the list. Will Clark. Um, Serena Williams, that just don't, you never hear about them. They're in parts of the world that again, don't provide the funding, but not just the funding. They don't provide the actual opportunity to even play, whether it's a facility or a field, which is also on our roadmap, facilities and whatnot. So we want to be able to get a lot of those stars out there that are the unknowns and give them a platform to, pursue their dreams and promote what they're doing and how they're doing it, which I think in itself is going to be able to fulfill a lot of amazing dreams. But yeah, I mean, I think it's not just that side of it. It's not the let's just help a bunch of kids that are unfortunate, but it's even for those kids that are fortunate, that I think don't really get the opportunity to promote themselves in a way where, they start getting the visibility that they want from the world or even the local communities, right? So yeah, you could go today and go sign up for a rec. It's easy. You just get your shin guards for $100, whatever it might be. But the hard reality of it is that there's not a lot of kids playing sports to this day. I mean, well, I think one of the most recent data facts that we've got is that I think it's 37% of 38% of the kids here in the US between the ages of 6 and 18 years old are in sports. That's a really astonishingly low number, right? And you wonder to yourself, what are they doing besides TikToking, tweeting, and Call of Duty? And what are they doing, right? And we know that, playing a sport does a positive impact mentally, spiritually, physically, and mentally. We know that, right? There's data that proves all of that. And so I think if we can increase personally, if SportsHero can increase the number from in that high 30s to even two basis points, I mean, that to me is a win, right? Revenue aside, we get that many more kids playing sports is a win for us. And so that for me is exactly, one of our big goals is to get more kids out there playing sports, because we know it does something positive for the human, for the kid, for our youth.
Yeah, and I know earlier you spoke about how you want to be a professional baseball player. I mean, so it sounds like this is a passion for you or very personally connected to you. Could you speak? You have that desire to get more kids not playing video games and playing sports. Can you speak to what it did for you as a kid when you think back, and how it kind of affected even where you are today? I mean, would that be fair to say, like in terms of your
Yeah.
success and becoming an entrepreneur and a leader?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, having the experience of playing a sport younger, playing a sport as a kid, really taught me that, very early, uh, it's not just you who will win the championship, right? It's going to take your team. It's going to take your coach. it's going to take your practicing. They say that, that you just got to show up, and that's exactly what you got to do. And so, um, even if it is a solo sport, right? You think about a lot of the solo sports out there. One that comes to mind is car racing. It's one guy, well, at least one version of car racing. You got one guy in that car going around, whether in an oval or whether it's, rally, or it doesn't matter. Got one guy, just one person driving. It's not electronically driven. It's a one guy. However, we know that back in the pit area, there was an entire crew of people pumping gas, changing tires, looking at the data, the engine, and all the other things that are going on to help the driver win, or at least go without crashing, and have one of their best drives ever, right? And so for me growing up, it taught me, that if we're going to win, we're going to all show up, we're going to all have the same mindset, and we're all just going to give it our best every single time we go out there. And so I think that in itself taught me the fundamentals of teamwork, right? Which then leads into, working in a team, being a part of a bigger vision. And any of the companies that I was working at as a sales rep, which then led to allowing me to be a part of an executive team and know and to understand what that really means when you're part of a leadership team, to even to the point where you're now leading the team. You're now the coach, right? You're now trying to mentor people to, get them to strive for their goals in the corporate world, right? So those are the building blocks that I think have helped me kind of at least understand a lot of different kind of important, things to have, traits to have, understanding, knowledge to even be where we are today. So
Yeah, no, I think those are all great points. I played a lot of sports growing up too, and I mean it's fun and it teaches you a lot. And you talked
yeah.
about how you think there's such a low percentage. Would you say we're headed in the wrong direction in terms of the number of kids playing sports? Like, is that percentage going down?
Yeah. Great question. I think, the hard reality that we all know is that COVID didn't help anyone in the world. Right. And it's unfortunate that the world saw that, and we see repercussions of what happened, or what that caused the world, not just the US. So I think, I think that it is slowly getting better now that kids are have the ability to go out there and play, and obviously things are somewhat getting normalized more than it was 3 years ago, right? 2 years ago. So I think it's slowly increasing. However, I think the challenge is that we run into, the challenge of what we all experience, which is, being on these things, right? These things are so powerful, right? That's information in our hands. And some of the games are, they're immersed. You get immersed into the games. You get addicted to playing the game because you want to keep going. I see that with my kids. I've seen it even with my older kids. So it's a balance, right? And I think it's a balance that's gonna, it's gonna take not only SportsHero to help kind of promote what that means, but it also is what happens at home. It's the parents that have to understand whether or not the parents played sports or not. I think it's important that the parents understand, the influence that you're making on your kids every day. If you're sitting at home doing this as a parent, well, look, what do you think? Your kids are going to also want to do that, right? So, so it's again, I think super important for us to be able to share that. So
The importance of sports for kids, and also the rise of technology, right? So
yep.
smartphones aren't going away. I mean, we're going to become even more involved in technology going forward. So do you think we'll ever win this battle, or will we just need to learn to live with it? I mean, it's not like people aren't playing sports. It's just now that we do have so much tech in our lives, there is more distraction.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's a battle, right? I think it's more of balance, right? I think it's about, because I do think that the tech in itself brings a lot of value to our lives every day. I mean, look at us; we're on this podcast right now. But I also think that it's also a balance. It's almost like it's nutrition, right? You got to have a good balance of your greens. You got to have a good balance of all the things that are necessary for us to be able to operate every day. And I think if you just immerse yourself in video games, then I think there's the challenge. On the flip side, you immerse yourself in sports all day long. Um, your body's gonna your body needs to recover. We're not robots, we've got to be able to, so there's that balance. And I think it's just more of sharing the importance of playing sports, both on the physical and mental side of things. And so, it's more of an awareness, and it's more of a desire. So, quite frankly, we know that there are kids out there, and friends to this day, they never even wanted, I don't think they even touched a ball in their life, right? They never played they didn't play sports. They did, they didn't do any of that. But they're great people, and they have their own thing. So it's not meant for everyone. I'm not trying to be here to create a platform that's going to say, come everyone. It's really geared for, those that want to fulfill a life and be a part of a journey of playing sports. And so, being a part of that and giving those kids a platform is going to be massive. And it's going to be such an amazing thing to see, some of the kids that are going to leverage the platform. And I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the success stories of, the kids that go from, I started when I was, 10 years old on SportsHero, and, here I am, I'm now, playing college sports, or, whatever it is. It's going to be really cool.
100%. And I think it kind of goes back to that spectrum, right? You say there are people that just won't play sports, and I kind of want to go to the other extreme, right? Because I hear stories about younger kids these days that, maybe they're 12, 13 years old, and they're playing competitive soccer or whatever it is. And it's like every weekend they're getting on a plane and they're traveling to Denver, and it seems to be almost all consuming. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, is that a healthy relationship with sports as well, or are there instances where we take it too far?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And I believe that, again, it goes back to balance, but I also think it comes down to what is fueling the passion. Is it that you're playing and flying and getting to club level sports, because you ultimately see yourself playing professional sports? Or is it that there's something else, or maybe other people that are fueling that because of the investment that they've put in, the time? And so I think it's definitely a balance, because having been a coach before, playing, coached my two older kids in soccer. I saw some of those parents that you could tell that they wanted to create the next Pele, like, and it was just like, okay, they were coaching me on how to coach. I'm like, okay, got it, so,
Mm-hmm.
there's that. So I think there's balance in everything. And so you can either have something consume you completely to the point where you're only thinking about it, doing it every moment of your waking life, or you find that balance among things. So, and doing that, it costs a lot of money to do that every weekend, and it consumes you. What doesn't matter what sport it is. So it comes down to balance.
Yeah. I want to pivot kind of back to how it works from an athlete's perspective. So if I'm understanding it correctly, it's a platform for athletes, and any youth athlete can join SportsHero and create a profile, and that's how they secure funding. Any athlete or team, or can you explain that a little bit? How it works? Is it an app? How is that
Yeah.
transaction facilitated between sponsor and athlete?
Yeah. So, um, Great question. So essentially, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's similar to how a lot of people today, uh, look at um, GoFundMe, right? You post up a charity, and in our case, you post up your sports hero kind of profile. You talk about what it is that you're raising funds for, and how you want to be sponsored for, whether it's a specific sport, camp, or club. And you also have the opportunity to, talk about some of the gear, physical gear that you need: helmet, cleats, whatever it might be, glove, bat, go down the list, lacrosse stick. And you then, promote yourself via traditional methods like text, email, go down the list, of the various capabilities, and email, and so then those that are receiving the link, uh, again, it'll be a web-based kind of profile. You're able to share your profile amongst the social media platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Go down the list. People will then get targeted to your personal profile and have the opportunity to sponsor you for $5, $10, whatever the dollar amount. It could be a reoccurring sponsorship that you kick off as a sponsor. Those funds ends up getting to call it a digital wallet. So the athlete starts to see the amount of funds that are being given to the athlete. And then from there, the athlete has the opportunity to use the funds to pay for camps, the camp, club, or league dues at the same time, directly with them, and at the same time pay for the gear that they need, and have it shipped via whoever it is that we're going to be partnering up with. We've got a few right now, but the gear themselves, or the gear itself, will be shipped directly to the athlete. Again, all based on the value or the currency of what they've got, the balance that they've got in their wallet. And then they will continue to just have that balance, or not have a balance, until they're, again, another season, another year, or whatever it might be. And so, the big fundamental difference, and again, I don't say this in anything other than just sharing and being transparent. GoFundMe has a place in the world, I think GoFundMe is a great company in the sense that they've been around for a while, so a lot of people know what they do and how they do it. However, one of the big fundamental challenges that I think GoFundMe has is the fraud component, right? So right now, you could post up a story, and unfortunately this happens, post up a bunch of great pictures or sad pictures of whatever situation that you're talking about, write a story that is heart-wrenching, and end up receiving donations from people from all over the world. And all of a sudden you've met your $5,000-$10,000 goal of whatever disaster, whatever issue you're having. And once you've met your goal, you end up wiring the money directly to your bank account. All the while, the story never existed, and you now are on your way to Tahiti for 2 weeks, right? So we know that exists today, and it's unfortunate because it is what it is. On the flip side, there are a lot of people that actually have unfortunate situations that use the GoFundMe platform to help fund whatever charity that they're trying to receive funds for. So it gets a little blurry as to what's real, what's not. The second fundamental issue that I think is that exists is money laundering. You're able to receive the funding and move it around, and have it totally go under radar, which is, again, another element that SportsHero is not necessarily is not gonna be a part of. You won't be able to wire your money externally to some bank account. You won't be able to get $500 in a Best Buy gift card and go buy yourself a new Xbox, right? There's some real fundamental changes that I think on the back end of things, on the monetary component side of things, will yet help the athlete provide transparency on where the funding is going, but most importantly, the accountability, right? Like if I'm giving somebody $100, whether it's a nephew or whoever it might be in my family, yeah, I kind of want to know where that's going. I mean, if I wanted to buy him the next Call of Duty, I'll just go do that, right? Like I don't need for him to do that. So it's important. So that in a nutshell, sneak peek is kind of what it all looks like.
And can you speak to more how the funds are controlled? So if I'm understanding correctly, they have a SportsHero account, digital wallet that then can be used only with your partners or through your online marketplace to buy gear or pay for a summer camp or go toward team dues that are registered through your app. I guess what are the additional controls?
There's several controls, right? So there's, and this is all information. This is all stuff that we're currently kind of evaluating with other partners, because we know that there is no such thing as one size fits all, especially in the world of sports, right? Some camps have, as an example, bronze, silver, and gold package, which includes whatever it is within those packages. The next camp might have, just a tutorial. I mean, you go down the list, and we were talking recently with US Sports Camps, the largest camp institution in the United States, affiliated with Nike. And, you can go into literally any state and type in, this is where I live, and then it'll populate whatever camps are in that region. And then you can sign up right there, right? So what we are talking about is a little button that says pay for your camp via SportsHero, right? Click. And all of a sudden, you're able to pay for your gear, pay for the camp via that connection, right? So the controls on the athlete is one side of things, is to look at it in one way. You have the opportunity to, go down the list of, the marketplace, or we're not going to call it the marketplace, but you go down the list of the suppliers that are providing the gear, and you'll be able to kind of search for, I need an Easton bat, and you'll be able to look for that Easton bat and buy it, right? So there's that control. The controls on the sponsor side allows you to see kind of like you might be sponsoring more than one athlete, right? Think about it. Grandma's got how many grandchildren, right? Or uncle, go down the list. And they are providing $20, $30, $40, $50 per grandchild. And so from a sponsor side, you kind of have your own dashboard to see, all right, so like what, and then over time, you're like, wow, I've given my family, all these grandkids, $5,000 last year in sports equipment, and be able to talk, have that kind of information. On the other side, on the back end side of the controls, I think it's also important for us to, build this entire platform on a modular basis, because what we see happening very soon, well, I say soon, and the rest of the team says slow down, is the functionality of a lot of our roadmap stuff that we'll be launching, which will yet again introduce other elements that'll complement the sponsor, complement the athlete, complement entities like Nike, camps, all these interesting elements that are going to be coming into play. And even beyond the age 18, we're talking collegiate, we're talking, further into services. So there's a lot of amazing things. So it's not just hey, come get your funding, use SportsHero for funding. Yeah, that might be our core, but the road to so much more is going to be such an amazing thing for the world of sports.
Can you speak to maybe the next step after funding, or do you want to keep that under wraps?
No, it's funny you asked me that. I think there's a level of stuff that, trust me, I'd be the first one to want to share everything with everyone. I mean, I'm just an open book. However, because I think competition is healthy, right? I think that today there are a lot of entities out there that provide the funding component to not little, but to well, yeah, little studios, big studios. I mean, they've got entities out there that provide just the core fundamentals of fundraising, right? Elements, which are important, which again, those would be considered our competitors. But beyond funding, you could think of, um, just the opportunity to provide scholarships, provide athletes, the opportunity to, you know, continue to drive their passion into sports. So that's definitely something. I also think that one of the unfortunate things that happens across the country is when the public schools have budget constraints, and we see that all the time. The two programs that they tend to cut is usually art and sports, and so what we see happening at some point in the near future is our ability to kind of alleviate some of that stress or some of the constraints that come with funding sports in the public institution area, and have it be an independent thing that the school doesn't really have to worry about anymore. Meaning the funds that go into the sports gear, and I don't know if you had this issue, but some of the sports gear that some of these public schools have is really like it should just be recycled.
Hmm.
I think will help use those funds towards paying our teachers, paying for the new crosswalk sign or whatever it might be. Use the funds elsewhere and really install an independent kind of program across the country at a lot of public institutions or schools, and have it, powered by SportsHero, and not just the platform, but its entire blueprint framework for sports for kids.
And is that reliant on the parents that the kids go to that public school for funding the sports programs, or where's the funding coming from? Is it coming from a Nike, like a Nike fund, maybe? I'm just curious where the money comes from if it's not coming from the school's budget.
Yeah, it's going to be a combination of those, whether the parents want to be a part of the funding of it or it's just the entities in itself. We see that there are access to government level funding that can provide, that you know type of a resource, but also companies. I mean, it just yet again introduces the idea that a lot of these companies could be a part of something bigger, right? So who's not to say that? Um, I'm, again, I'm not saying that this is happening any time, but who's not to say that this? I don't know why this company just came off the top of my head, but Starbucks wouldn't want to be a part of, sponsoring, some sort of involving themselves, in that. Not that caffeine is good for kids, but I'm just using them as an example, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of resources out there. The money's out there. There's never an issue of lack of money. It's more of making sure that it's being used correctly, right? So
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, it's collecting the funding and making it available, or again, it's providing that platform, but between school and local business, big corporation, whatever it is, right? And that's what you want to play, is that middleman.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
All right, I want to pivot back a little bit back to sports, right? Because I think the core of this is kids playing sports. How, as a kid, how do you choose what sport you want to play and stick to that's going to allow you to grow and develop? I mean, there's so many options out there. You can't do everything. How do you choose?
Oh man, personal experience. It's almost like you feel as at least I did. You just every time you show up, it's not a chore, right? I think a lot of kids are, introduced into a sport because their dad or grandpa played it, and so it's like you got to play it. Um, I also think that, I also think there's nothing wrong with trying a few sports, and seeing which one you really enjoy. But when you show up and it's and it's no longer, and it's not a chore, and you're looking at it like it's fun. um, I think that's where I think you need to um, hone in that passion, right? If it's fun and you enjoy it and you're really good at it, I mean, keep doing it. There are a lot of kids that
Mm-hmm.
are good at more than one sport. So, I mean, go down the list of even professional athletes that we know of to this day that played a combination of football, baseball. I mean, go down the list, right? Michael Jordan was one of them. I mean, the guy played baseball,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like he played baseball and he became one of the greatest basketball players that ever lived on this earth at the moment, aside from some other great basketball players. But um, I think it definitely comes down to what is it that really, when you go play that sport, do you really enjoy it? Do you think to yourself like, I could do this every day of my life? I love this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how you figure out which one you really want to focus in on and get better at. Because with all sports, you're not good overnight. It takes practice and it takes dedication. It takes the and all of those things are going to be fueled by that passion and or love for that sport or more than one sport. So it's important to understand which one that is.
What was it about baseball for you? Why did you choose baseball?
Um, I, oh man, there's so many things that are running through my mind, and I'll start off with there was nothing more satisfying than walking on the field when it just got done being cut. It was just that smell of like,
Mm.
and it was green and it was vibrant. It was beautiful. You've got your clean baseball outfit on and you're ready to play and you're ready to do this, right? I played outfield, the left center, right? And I was at the time extremely. They called me Speedy, so I was really fast, and I stole second base like it was no tomorrow. And it was just one of those things, right? Although a combination of a little bit of every single time you showed up, there was always a little butterflies because it's a new game, it's a new team, and that's a part of the excitement, right? That adrenaline that keeps you going, you pumping your team up, and everyone's excited to, the win or the losses, the after party, the barbecue at the coach's house or wherever it was. Those are the things that I lived for week after week, and then even for practice. I mean, there's a comes a point where, yeah, sometimes you're just exhausted from the day. You're just like, I don't want to go to practice. And I think that's also super important to understand that, sometimes, although you may not want to feel like showing up to practice, it all comes down to that passion and drive. And if you feel like you want to continue to get better at whatever it is that you're wanting to strive for, that craft, right? You're going to show up and you're going to show up because you're not just letting yourself down. You're letting your team down, right? So when you let your team down and you're not showing up to practice because you're lazy, I mean, not only are you going to hear it game day from your coach, but you're going to hear it from your team because we're like, dude, what happened? We showed up. Why didn't you show up? Right. So there's that element. So it was all of that, right? It was the competitiveness. It was I do believe in that in itself. The competitive element brings a positive thing. Everybody everybody likes to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even the losses you could take away from the losses, not necessarily as a negative thing, but you can learn from the loss. You can say, well, I could have done that better. As a team, we could have done that better, right? And so there's all these other things that are you're constantly learning as you get older and as you immerse yourself into it every day. So super huge. And for me, those were the things that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I want to dig into this a bit. What advice do you have for someone, for a kid that was maybe in a similar position that you were in growing up? I know you mentioned briefly, right, that you were raised by a single mom. There were certain things that kind of made it more difficult for you to achieve that dream of playing college baseball, making it to the major leagues. What do you say to some kid out there that says, "Hey, I have that same dream. I want to play in the MLB, NBA, NFL. I know I'm talented, but I'm growing up in a poorer area. I have a tough family life. I don't have support. I don't have any money." Like, how do you overcome that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, truth be told, at some point, I think, in some point very soon, they'll be given a platform to help them,
There you go.
understand and have access to a lot of things that don't exist today. But I think, aside from or desire to be around other people that will help positively impact and fuel that journey into that life that you want to, be a part of, that journey of sports, that goal of becoming whatever it is that you want to become on the professional sport level. And I think it's important to just be a part of that day in and day out, not once a month, not even, once a week. It's a constant desire to want to be a part of it. What I mean by being a part of it is just surround yourself with people that are like-minded, that will help you drive towards that goal. It's not a bowl of cherries, right? And there are a lot of kids out there that grow up in very unfortunate neighborhoods, with a lot of lack of resources, things that they need to positively influence. And so, I think it's very important to, have our youth and have our adults, really have a lot of our adults out there step up their game and mentor kids. It's super important that we all, take part in, being a positive mentor, making that positive impact in our youth, and for each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've talked about Michael Jordan a couple times while we've been recording here. So maybe you could speak to him, or what you see in him, and why he is the GOAT. I mean, is he indicative of what it takes to be the best? What is it about him that you admire so much?
Yeah, wow, there's so much. And I think, one of his, and I don't know for verbatim the quote, but I think one of his quotes is, I've missed a lot of shots, and he has. And that has made him who he is even to this day, right? But I think one of the most interesting things about Michael Jordan is his dedication to showing up and being mentored, right? If you look at any biography, any book, he's all about the teamwork, and he's all about putting in your effort and showing up and being mentored along the way. I mean, it wasn't, they didn't, Phil Jackson, or you go down the list of the coaches prior in college, even though he was amazing, he was never the player that just didn't want to listen to the coach and he's going to do his own thing, right? I mean, he was very much all right. So, what do I got to do? How do I perfect my craft in my game? And so showing up and being a leader, I mean, it's so important. I mean, he led that team because of his drive to perfection, right? His drive to win championships. And so that passion and that drive, it influences and impacts the entire team. So you've got to be on that level and that mental level to want to, share that energy with the rest of the team to the point where you're winning championships back to back to back. And again, Michael Jordan won't take credit for all the championships. You'll never hear him go, "Yeah, it's because of me that it was that final shot." No, 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 no. If you look at all the games and everything that he's ever said, he's always talked about all of his other players, all of the other guys. If it wasn't because of Scottie Pippen, or if it wasn't because of Dennis Rodman, or whoever it was, he's always given credit because of Phil Jackson or whatever. So it's those basic fundamental things that when you look at any athlete, Mahomes from Kansas City, or Cousins he was on the Vikings, but Serena Williams, you go down the list. I mean, you listen to some of the buzzwords that they've got about what got them to where they are today. It's all basic fundamentals that we all know about. We just have to hone in on them. So super huge.
Yeah, so you might find this hard to believe, but I'd never really got to watch Michael Jordan play. I was just a young kid when he was winning all those championships. And so there's going to be, all the kids today, right? Obviously they know who he is. They know his shoes, his brand, but how do you recommend someone that never got to see him play learn about him, or what should they read? What should they watch?
Yeah. Look at some of the athletes today, right? There are so many amazing athletes that exist today that have the same characteristics and traits and fundamental beliefs that the greats did, right? It goes back beyond Michael Jordan, right? Larry Bird. I mean, go down the list. There's so many that go beyond my age, right? So I think it's important to just, read, listen, research, listen to podcasts, listen to the athletes that are out there of all sports. Cristiano Ronaldo, who doesn't know that guy, right? I mean, go down the list of young athletes. It just doesn't end. And that's the beauty of sports, is that you can find amazing athletes in every sport. And what's interesting is that they all have the very, very similar characteristics and fundamental beliefs on what it is and what they believe in, whether it's on an individual basis or a team base, a team effort. So yeah, it's important to just understand. It's about you can have a mentor without telling the mentor or even meeting the mentor. You know what I mean? Like you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I may not ever meet Michael Jordan. He doesn't even know who I am, but yet I always looked at him as like a mentor, a sports mentor and an idol, right? And so you could do
Mm-hmm.
that if you get the opportunity to even talk to any of your mentors, or even, I think that's important. Just go get a mentor. There is nothing wrong with asking somebody, hey, I'd love for you to be my mentor in whatever it is, business, sports, whatever it might be. Especially if that person can spend that time and dedicate a little extra time into helping become, helping that person become whatever it is. So it's important to just go out there and learn your athlete. Have that athlete, your favorite athlete, become that mentor for you. I mean, it's super important.
And you've probably heard of it. I'm sure you've seen it, the documentary about Michael Jordan and the Bulls, that I think it was on Netflix. I forget
Yeah.
what it's called, but I would recommend everyone watch that, especially if you never got to see him play. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
great kind of
Huge.
encapsulation of his success and career. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so, no, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we can kind of pivot to close, but I want to give you the floor, Manuel, as we close. Anything you want to tell the audience? I know we touched a lot about SportsHero. I mean, where they can find out more about it, where it is in the process. I mean, it's live, right? People can sign up for it today. Is that correct?
So it's live in the sense that you can sign up, but it stops there. We're right now on the development side, developing really kind of the MVP of the product, right? So
Mm.
it's out there for just visibility purposes for now, functionality,
Mm.
receiving funding, and capitalizing on using it for the sports camps and leagues and gear is going to launch aggressively. At least we've got an aggressive timeline just in time for winter sports, so right around the corner. And from there going into next year, we're going to start doing a lot of marketing, a lot of social media, and a lot of really awesome things, promotional videos, and of the sorts that we're excited to share. So I think what I could say right now is um, we're excited to offer something that'll positively impact a lot of young athletes, a lot of our youth, and we're excited to be on this journey with our athletes, with our members who will be using the platform. And that's I think the best part is we're going to be immersed with them on this journey. It's not just a set it and forget it kind of thing. It's more of a we're gonna offer this to the market, but we're gonna constantly be evolving and offering things that will continue to enrich the athlete's journey and provide things that'll, help pave the way to help them achieve their goals. And so that in itself is exciting. So, more to come on Sports Hero. And, I look forward to, doing a lot of the things that we've got slated for our roadmap, which my team tends to tell me to want to slow down on some of the functionality and features and things that we want to do. But, there's nothing wrong with having a healthy roadmap. That's one thing I've been told. It's like, it's good to continue that roadmap, because a lot of people end up gassing out and capping themselves as to what it is that they want to offer. So we're excited.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, I wish you the best of luck. I had a great time talking to you. I think it's a great mission. I relate to it growing up playing sports. It's really important to set the foundation for your life, right? I mean, even if you don't go pro, it teaches you so much. So
yeah,
it
totally does. I agree with you. Yeah.
I'll throw the link to your website in the description so people can learn more about SportsHero. And
cool.
Yeah, wish you the best of luck.
Awesome. Thanks, Connor. It's been a pleasure. Enjoyed the chat. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.